Hey, welcome, man. Thank you so much for doing this. For you guys out there, this is our first episode ever of Leave It on the Line, where we take Shift Drink to that next level, where we talk about what we have to do to survive the line and, what it does for the families and stuff like that. And I have one of my closest, dearest friends that I've made out here in California since we've come out. His wife and my wife Sarah my wife's Gina. His wife is Sarah. Came out. Yeah, don't mix that up. It's not that kind of show yet. That's a little crazy.
That's much later.
Much later in the episode.
Yeah.
But I want to cheers you, man. Thanks for coming out and doing this. Everybody, I'd like to introduce Grant Lawson, chef. So give yourself a little bit of a background.
Born and raised Southern California. I went to culinary school up in Pasadena. It was the California School of Culinary Arts. It was before it was affiliated with the Cordon Bleu.
Okay.
So it was really small at the time.
Yeah, like I went to the campus when it was Le Cordon Bleu, and I was completely, it was a beautiful campus.
Yeah.
And I hired some students out there, and then a couple of years later, one of the people that worked for me, they're like, oh, I was going to Le Cordon Bleu, but I heard they're not going to keep their accreditation. I'm like, really? And then some things, like a year and a half later.
Well, that just kind of
they're up, like, we're done. Peace out.
Yeah, it blew up. I was before that. I was before they were building that campus when I was going there. So the campus I went to was, tiny. My class, at the time, I think my class had maybe 20 people in it.
Oh, wow. So how many, tiny. So just the lab alone was 20 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's perfect.
And it was a 16-month program. It wasn't I didn't get a degree or anything. It was just straight culinary. The academic part of it was the first, I think, week.
Oh, okay.
So I think the first week of the class was academic. And then the rest of it
was cooking. Oh, dude.
Cooking, learning. And yeah, it was awesome.
Do you still talk to anybody that you went to the school with?
I don't.
So how long ago was this?
2000. So
2000. Okay. Yeah. That's
18 years now. Yeah. There for a little while I did.
Yeah. You just stay, I'm thinking, I was in 98, 99 and I had to take one more class in 2000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that, for the power of Facebook,
Sure.
I made some
That's
really
true.
good friends, but.
That's true. You know what? Yeah. With Facebook and stuff, there's a couple that, I follow.
Right,
whatever,
right. It's so weird with Facebook nowadays, I think, you have these relationships that you guys were super tight, during school and that little part. And then families kind of take over, and it's what's
life.
The kids? Yeah, life kind of
once
takes
you start working in literally once you start working in the industry, once you get out of culinary school, that's what you do. That is your life. That restaurant or wherever you're at, that hotel, that restaurant, then you just... That's it.
Now, what'd you do when you got through at the school? It was Pasadena Culinary Arts of what was it called?
California School of Culinary Arts.
Okay.
In Pasadena. Right out of it, my first job in the industry was at Roy's Asian Hawaiian fusion or whatever.
Right.
It was in Newport Beach. I started out as a veg guy. And that was a wide awakening.
Yeah, what was the hardest transition for you from because did you work in restaurants before you went to school?
No.
See, I didn't either. I was in a previous type of thing.
I did the high school, obviously.
Right.
Graduated and then went to junior college, for about a year and a half maybe, and figured it wasn't for me. It was basically a waste of time.
Oh, dude.
School was, I was like, okay, I did high school. It's all good. I'll try out junior college. I have no idea for what. I don't know.
Right.
General ed, right? General ed. Hey, so what are you going to college for? I don't know. General ed.
General.
Yeah, just whatever.
Doing some general studies.
So it just kind of, I just, at that point, it was just kind of a waste of time, a waste of money. And I always kind of loved cooking. I kind of grew up not really in the kitchen all the time, but obviously, I just cooked with my mom, cooked with my dad, barbecued,
And you're like, I could
made
do
the family
this.
favorites, whatever. Yeah,
I could definitely do this.
Yeah, and it was it was right when I think the Food Network was starting to
like when you started to make up your mind that you were going to do this?
Yeah, I think
Was it like, let me see. Some of my favorite shows back when I used to watch it was like Taste with David Rosengarten and like, of course, the classic Emerald, not the BAM one, but just like the Essence of Emerald was out. Ming Tsai had a show.
See, that's the thing. Like Ming Tsai Eats Meets West.
Yeah.
For sure. Huge.
Right?
Like that was, for me, that was big. Because when I decided I wanted to go to culinary school, I had to convince my parents. Convince them. And the first thing was, what do you want to be, a short order cook at Denny's for the rest of your life? Are you kidding me?
Right.
It
didn't have legs as far as the career
not at
was
all.
concerned.
Like not at all. It's like, no, that's not it. That's not it. It's like, it's different. But I had to, I worked a couple jobs, to save money and to show my parents that's what I really wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they would kind of help me out. I was able to get a small loan. They kind of took the rest of it, and I think it was almost a year. I think it was that I had to wait.
Before you could get in?
Before I could get in. I could have got in, but my parents were like, nah.
Did they make you require? Oh, so you could have got in. That's pretty interesting.
I could have got in, but my parents were like, we're not going to, help you out. We're not going to back you until you show us that this is like what you really want to do, because why are we going to invest this money? You know what I mean? And it just wasn't, being a chef wasn't what it is now. Well, celebrity chef, there was no celebrity chef when it was Emerald. Well, but it's not like it is today.
No, definitely not. Like there was no Top Chef, right?
No,
I think like, okay, so for me, the celebrity chefs back in the day were Justin Wilson, Yan Can Cook, Julia Child, the Galloping Gourmet.
Yep.
I'm trying to think. Justin Wilson was something that we watched all the time at the house. And he would come on. Do you remember him? He's a Cajun. No. Okay, so it was all PBS stuff, and like he would come on, and he did a lot of Cajun Creole stuff. So like most, I'm from the South, northern Florida, and I spent a lot of summers in New Orleans and Mobile, mostly Mobile, Alabama. And it was interesting because he'd come on, and it was like listening to, he wore suspenders and this red bow tie, and it was like, what we gonna did, and like how we gonna talk, and like it was just and he'd tell these stories. It was like, he cooked like my grandmother cooked, or like my aunt, or any of these people that I grew up with. But it was the stories, and like he had this Southern draw, and he was this actor. So we'd watch that, and then there's another one that would come on, like Classical Chefs or something, and it would be the chef, and somebody would talk over them, and I didn't know until much later. Like it was right when the boom of Food Network was coming out, and it was kind of giving it some legs, and for me, I had a family kind of company with my dad, and we worked together a lot, and I was like, man, I really like working for myself, but I don't want to do what we're doing, because that was just not in my, I guess, repertoire, if you will. But I decided, I was like, it'd be cool if I could cook every day. And I was like, how awesome would that be? Like you get up in the morning and you like go in a kitchen and you like make food.
Yeah.
I kind of misjudged exactly what that whole thing becomes.
Sure.
It sounded fantastic.
Absolutely.
And the first time I ever did, I barely graduated high school. It was like, I think my senior year I had 2 tennis classes, 2 shop classes, and that's it brought my GPA up enough to graduate.
That's fantastic.
So when I finally, I continued to go to the community college, like every semester. My dad we were really big on getting the college degree, right? So every semester I would change majors, and it would just send me down another path of prereqs.
Yeah, exactly.
So it was just one class. And so 5 years later, I transferred to Johnson & Wales in North Miami with 140 credit hours, 150 credit hours. And they're like, what? You don't even, how many degrees do you have? And I'm like, I think I have 2 associate's degrees. I've taken every prereq.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
dialed in. I can go ahead and go to the, excellent excelled courses.
I don't need to take that. I'm pretty sure I took it already. It was a lot of that. So I spent most of the culinary time in labs.
Cool.
And so for me, it was it was cool, but I was working, I started to get jobs in kitchens and go to school, which I think is kind of the way to do it a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was it was really hard, because
Oh, yeah.
the amount of time that you're in the class versus how much you can work.
Sure.
So there was a lot of,
And did you have to
days
work a certain amount of hours to be able to graduate?
for graduation? Yeah,
Right,
we had
right.
to actually work at. Funny story is that I was working at this restaurant and I ended up paying, because the restaurants or hotels pay for the students to come in back then. They would, give a stipend to Johnson and Wales or however
Okay.
it worked. And then they basically put you up, and you worked for like a reduced amount of hours, because they spent putting you up and putting you where you are. And
Sure.
I couldn't afford, because at the time, Gina and I were just married, right? We got married. Like one of my brothers from another mother, Ronald James, he actually, from culinary school, we met filling out FAFSAs, right? He played at our wedding. So like I said, he's a great musician, but I was like a huge tangent. But the funny thing is that they're like, you need to go you can work at these 15 places. And I'm like, that's
okay.
$8 an hour.
Right.
I can't afford
Yeah.
to work for $8 or $9 an hour. I'm
Yeah.
making 12 or 13. $12 or something, like that's
But even then,
$11,
How long ago was that?
God, that was in 2000, 98,
But
99.
even then, back then that was like, whew, that's pretty good.
Well, yeah, I was doing good. I just was only working when I was working, right?
Sure.
And it might even been $9 or
It probably was
$10.
less.
It was probably.
I think when I first started, when I got my first job at Roy's, I think it was $10 an hour, and I was like, yes.
Oh my, yeah, you
Like,
had
that's
landed.
amazing.
You had landed, right?
$10 an hour. I was so excited. I'm like, wow, man.
So you made $80 a day, and you were just as happy. Like what? I mean, like to go back to that, right? I know that.
Man.
So like I ended up paying. It was like a stipend of like $500 or $600. I had to do math, like longevity math, and
So you ended up negative at the end of it?
So I paid so I wouldn't be negative, so I could still bring in the same amount. And it was just like,
What is happening?
What is it? What am I doing this for?
Yeah.
I should have known then. I should have known then. Like
they're going to take a lot more than just your time.
And I finally did graduate, and it was worth it. But I mean,
Yeah.
ugh.
I think it culinary school for me was great. It was an awesome, experience. I loved it. I was driving, back and forth round trip over 100 miles a day.
Yeah.
I had to get there. I had the early morning class that I think started at 7.
So where were you living?
At the time, I was living in Anaheim Hills.
Okay.
And I was driving to Pasadena.
Ooh. Now, was traffic just as bad?
Yeah. So Monday through Friday, I had to be in Pasadena. I think my class started at 7, so say 7:15 or something like that. So I had to wake up. I think alarm goes off at 4:30. And if I wasn't out the door at 5, latest maybe 5:05 in the morning, I was okay to get there in time. If I left at 5:06, 5:07 in the morning,
Done.
Traffic done. I would miss class. I'd be there late.
I really want you to know that you're telling the same story. That's so funny because we haven't had this conversation
No.
before. As long
No,
as
yeah.
we've hung out, I haven't not.
Yeah.
But I know that the funniest thing is that if I left, because we were in Pompano, which is just north of Fort Lauderdale, and I was driving down to 135th Street, North Miami. And if I didn't leave at 5:05, it was over. And if you weren't, and they did things like if you didn't walk through the door at 6:30, you didn't go to class.
Right.
And then
Yeah.
if you walked through at 6:30 and you didn't have your neckerchief,
neckerchief, yep.
and your hands were dirty or
Absolutely.
something, you're out.
Yep.
And if
you were not ready to go when class started, then yeah, see you later.
and
Yep.
they would not. There was a vending machine that sold side towels, and it sold neckerchiefs and like the little things that went around them, and you could buy like another hat, but
Yeah.
it was like $5,
Yeah.
$6. So
That's
you would have to
ridiculous.
go over there, buy it, run back into the lab, and be like, okay, I'm ready.
I'm straight,
And
yeah.
I'm ready to do this. And it was
the
like
neckerchief, dude.
right.
I mean, come on now.
I mean, that's the way it was. And then if you wore the freshmen wore like blue, like everybody had their own color.
Oh, wow.
So like green was like a hospitality.
Okay.
Red was something. It was just it was really kind of
Neckerchief.
yeah.
Ugh.
But what kind of hat did you wear? Did you wear a toque or did you wear a floppy?
No, it was a flop.
Okay.
Thank God, it was a flop.
See, we wore toques and they were paper toques.
Yeah.
So like
But, I've worked at places though that were kind of old school, or like the GM or the up and ups were old school, and they want it. You're out there doing a banquet. You're on a carving station. You're wearing that paper tote.
100%.
Like, I'm 6'4".
Like you go into a walk-in, you go into
yeah. You want me to wear a paper tote that's another 2 feet?
No, yeah, right. You're toast.
I mean, come on now. Like
that's not even fair.
Not even fair. And they're horrible anyways. But
yeah, I wore we wore toques the entire time in Levy. Like when I first started in S&E, I wore them at my first restaurant when I graduated, and then slowly stepped away from them. And then when I started with Levy, it was a toque run operation. All the chefs wore toques. Yeah, and I wore them. So I was with them for 8-9 years, and I going in and out of the coolers, wearing them, and like we bought the they came out the paper ones that were really nice, so it would go around the head,
Well, yeah, and you have to like tape them in the back. And,
yes, yes, 100%. So so you went to Roy's, and then what after that?
After Roy's, let's see. I mean, I've floated around quite a bit. All through kind of southern Orange County. From Roy's, I went to Napa Rose for a little while.
How was Napa Rose?
Napa Rose was awesome. That was different for me. Just because of the dynamic. It was. I mean, Roy's was an open kitchen, but Napa Rose was a wide open kitchen. You know what I mean? Like Roy's was an open kitchen. There's a pass and people could walk by and kind of see, what was going on in the kitchen. But Napa Rose was literally all around open. And it was the first time there were multiple sous chefs that I had to
answer to.
And that was interesting.
I think that's that's the biggest struggle that a lot of the cooks that I have is like, when you have multiple sous, they all have an opinion, right? And they're all trying to do it their way.
Exactly.
And they're trying to get to that next level.
We've never had this conversation before.
100%.
This is, I mean, that's,
so like you would be doing something the way that Frank A told you, and then Jim B would come by and he'd be like, yeah, what are you doing right now? Why did you?
Exactly.
And
what is this?
And you're like, I don't even, so do I throw him under the bus? Or
exactly.
So everybody feels caught.
And then when you throw someone under the bus, and then you just get drilled. So it's like,
it's not a win-win.
What am I supposed to be doing here?
We just and this is we just had this conversation not too long ago at my place. Because it's like leads and supervisors, they all have a plan, and then somebody comes by and says do something different. It's the same story, and then like the poor cook is caught in the middle, right?
Oh, caught in the middle, and just what do I do? Like, I'm just trying to learn the stations here. Like, I'm new, like I've been here for 2 weeks, man. And I'm getting yelled at by 4 different dudes. And then the chef comes by and is like, what?
You're so stupid. Yeah. Like,
how
this
do
new
you
guy
not
is
get
an
this?
idiot.
This guy can't even, there's no way he's on this station.
Why did we hire this guy?
Like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me, right? So,
you went to culinary school? Right?
Yeah. So
Good job.
That was
a waste
rough
of money.
for me. Not that, I mean, I was young.
Right.
I didn't, I didn't like that.
No, it didn't work for the. No,
it didn't work for me. No, I just, okay, it's time to move on.
Where'd you end up? So where have you been your happiest?
Man,
I mean, because you've run a couple of restaurants, you've been in the hotel side, you've done some catering.
Yeah,
I mean, you've kind of done
country club.
Did you like the country club?
I enjoyed the country club. That was my first executive chef experience. Was at a country club.
Now, did the members I've always heard, because I have a dear friend and he's the he finds himself always in a country club environment to a certain aspect, and he loves it. It fits his style. Mm-hmm. It's the wedding for the important guy's daughter. Yeah. You knock out the party for 150. Everybody loves you, but you always got to have the tuna fish salad made this way for Nancy. And then if you don't have piping hot clam chowder just the way that Bob likes it, there's a lot of nuance to it.
There's a lot of nuance to it. I mean, it went so far to having a special football menu that we did, because there was a group of 16 to 20 members that were there every Sunday. And
that's what they expected.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a group of guys that were there every Sunday, and each person had their own meal. or their special sandwich, or their special this, or their favorite this, or they wanted this like that. So we were just playing around, having a little fun with it. So we made a special football menu, and it had like 16 items on it. Each item was named after each
you were a hero.
Each individual member.
Right. You could probably go back today and get that job if the guys are still alive.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
yeah.
right?
I mean, I can go play golf there still.
Yeah.
I could go walk and just say, hey,
like,
what's up? Hey.
they're like, you're just like, you were a hero at that point.
Fantastic, right? Yeah, it was all good. I enjoyed it. The golf was fantastic. The golf was great. That's a perk.
Okay.
Huge
yeah,
perk.
because he plays,
Huge perk.
like, he'll send me pictures or a snap or anything like that. You can always follow us on Snapchat or Instagram or YouTube.
Plug it.
You got to plug it. And you get that. Well, he'll send me some video, and he's like driving around in a golf cart. He's like, it's a golf day.
Yeah, I mean, like, what? At first, when I first got the job, it was my first exec, position. So I took
Were
it
you super serious. Like, how much of a hard ass were you?
I wasn't.
No,
because that's just not my personality. Mm-hmm. That's not me. I kind of came up in the ranks with asshole chefs.
Yes, 100%.
Getting yelled and screamed at, and I'm not motivated by that whatsoever. That just basically was like, fuck you, that man. Like, you're like, I'm the one making you money, man. Like, I'm making you famous.
I was such a tool.
I'm making your dishes. I'm making you. You can go touch the tables. You got your own,
whatever. You're the big
person.
guy.
You're the guy, and you're gonna come yell at me. You know what I mean? You're gonna throw a dish in my face. You're gonna throw something at my feet. Like, dude, get out of here. Like, I did the best I could with stuff like that, So, and it's not my personality, anyways. Like, I'm a pretty mellow guy.
Yeah, you're super chill. Like, I can't see you like. We're
there's
totally
moments.
I can see you get hot. Like,
there's moments, obviously, where the shit hits the fan. Like, dude,
it's go time.
It's fucking go time, dude.
Right,
like,
100%.
We're not messing around. Like, when shit hits the fan, it's go time. It's go time. Let's do this. And don't make me come back there and do it for you.
Right.
I will just push you out of the way and do it myself, which I did.
Yeah, like that.
So I
should have
more
just done this myself.
Yeah, and which I learned.
That was the toughest part for me, was coming out of the gate. I was such a just a complete jerk, like when I was in school, I was working for a guy, and he was absolutely a complete and utter like nut job. And he was really talented. Like, he had so much clout. Like, as far as I was concerned, he was like a god. You know what I mean? Like, he had already been to the Beard House twice, and he was 22.
Oh, wow.
And like, for me, I've never been to the Beard House. Hopefully one day I'll get an invite. I've never gotten an invite, but
yeah.
I don't know what that's like, my Mount Everest, I guess.
Well, sure.
I'd like, right. So like, coming up, I was like, oh my God, it would be so awesome if I could get to the Beard House. So my cousin came down, and she was like from New Orleans, and she's like, hey, we're opening a restaurant up in Delray. Do you want to work? And I'm like, oh, sweet. Yeah, absolutely. I'll take another Miller High Life. Thank you.
Yeah, champagne of beers, brother.
So the champagne of beers. This is cheers to my grandparents drinking champagne of beers on our first Leave It on the Line. We're definitely leaving it on the line tonight.
Cheers.
Cheers, brother. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You know it. You got to tap the table.
Always.
That the Scotland thing for me. I don't know where did you pick that up?
It's to the bar.
Yeah.
In between cooking and I mean, not to go on too much of a tangent, but I took a little break. Actually, I moved to Vegas.
Oh.
I lived there for a little over 2 years.
Uh-huh.
I moved there for a cooking job. It ended up falling through. It didn't work out because I think I was like super cool and had bleached hair, bleached tips, or some crap like that.
Oh, nice. Was it spiked?
That was so cool back then.
Yeah, was it spiked?
That was way before Guy Fieri.
Did you wear the glasses on the way?
No. I didn't go that far because that's real cool. No, but I mean, I don't think I fit their bill or whatever. I don't know. I think it was at MGM, and it didn't work out. But I kind of fell into bartending. It just happened. Worked my way up in the casino. I was downstairs working in the liquor room, filling orders for the bars, moved up to bar back, and then bartended for, like I said, about 2 years. So I just kind of learned little things, but it
Like
was
the
always
tap?
tap in the bar. It's just kind of tap into the bartender, tap into the bar. Like
we did it in Scotland, right? I mean, like that was like where they're like,
must
"Oh, you
be
gonna
nice.
drink that?" And yeah, I'm a fancy guy. I was traveling in Scotland and Europe or whatever. That was back in the days when I thought I was super cool. I mean,
well, at least you've been there.
yeah. I mean, it was it was fun. It was fun. I was working for the Boy Scouts. It wasn't like I was just traveling, but
Okay.
I'm
gonna leave it alone.
There's so many jokes there, right there. I'm sure people are gonna that at mile marker 24, people are gonna like totally have something to say about that.
Yeah.
But where
Anyways,
were we?
yeah.
I was working for a guy that was he was insane. Like he would say things like, "How long on that redfish?" And I would be, because we just would get slammed, and the menu changed every day. So like I would leave culinary school just like you. Like I would drive there at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to culinary school.
Yep.
We'd stay and clean until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon because we wanted to, and we just worshiped the chefs. It was just like all of this. So we'd be the last ones to leave.
Yeah.
And then I would drive up to Del Rey. So I was driving easily over 100 miles, no problem, right? And so I drive up to Del Rey, which was an hour and 15 minutes or whatever from North Miami, an hour and 20, whatever kind of nonsense it was. And I'd walk in, and I would have no idea where or what I was going to be doing or making.
Sure.
So he would change all the menu he wrote the night before in his head. And then I'd come in and he'd be like, "Oh, we're going to make a blood orange beurre blanc, and you're going to put it on this, Chilean sea bass, and I've got unpasteurized crab meat, and we're going to do a heart of palm, like comb feet crap on top." And I'm like, "What?" Okay. And cool. I had already, my cousin spoke for me, and, like he was supposed to give me a really good job. Like he was supposed to hook me up because I was with my cousin.
No worries. Yeah, I got you.
But how small the industry is I worked at a hotel in Miami, and I worked for this guy they worked in New Orleans together because it was an Intercontinental thing. He worked at Intercontinental. So he called the guy, and he's like, that guy is a kind of a tool. I was just a knucklehead kid at the time, right? Yeah. Even though I was like 22 or something, 20, sure. I just had no clue.
That's young. Yeah,
right?
I mean, yeah.
And he totally he just beat me. Into like
sure
just beat me. Yep. So I would come in and he'd be like, this is your station. So like we'd make it, and then I would immediately, you couldn't sandbag. The sandbagging was like you're gonna get stabbed in the face, right? This is high end. Like I've been to the Beard House, I'm a bomb. And he's like, make everything I'm surprised we weren't making the risotto from scratch, like for every order, right?
Yeah, a la minute.
So like I would just get it was called Michael's Seafood. And it was in Del Rey. So these people were coming in, and they're like, they were wanting to order like the captain's platter because it was a fried fish and a grilled Cajun. And this guy is
cocktail.
No, he's like crushing
and the crab legs.
Yeah, no, he's like we're like avant garde, like we're like cutting edge. We had like we're just doing great food. But man, I got brutalized.
Yeah.
And it was like, dude, if I have to come over across this line, I'm going to fuck your face. Literally, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Don't make me, I'll punch you in the back of the head. Don't make me shove this in your face. And you're just like, oh, there's this panic, and and I am I'm like a very sharp-witted, cynical smartass.
Right.
So I did well with that because I was used to that type of environment to begin with. But at the same time, I took it, right? And then that did not work out. He bounced, money, South Florida. I opened so many restaurants. And then when I started running a place with another chef, people would do something and I would be like, that's garbage.
Right.
Everything should look exactly the same, exactly the same. If you can't make it the same way every time, then you need to either pick another career. Right. And this is my mindset. I'm going to be perfect. You're going to be perfect. Completely insane, obsessed. And it ended up, by the end of the 14 people that we hired, it was just me, my guy that would put up with my crap, the other chef, and the guy that put up with his crap. And there was 4 of us running a 250-seat restaurant with a bar.
Weeds.
And there's no, you're just working nonstop. Yeah. And I was thinking to myself, holy crap. I did this to myself, right? Oh, this is the way it is. You got to be a jackass to everybody and point. And I finally I woke up and I was like, that people aren't responding to that. You can do that to yourself because I'm like my own worst critic.
Well, I mean, I think that's kind of a mark of a chef, but I mean, it could be in any kind of industry or whatever. But I mean, you're your own worst enemy. You're your own worst critic. Like there's nothing that I cook or I've ever cooked, a dish that I've done is ever been perfect.
Right.
Nothing. I mean, I can't say that something has ever been perfect. Like
you're like always thinking. You're just like, I could have done this different.
Shit, I should have done this, or
if I could have done that.
Next time I'll do this, or next time I could have maybe done this. Like it's.
I think that's our nature.
People always ask like, oh, how come you don't eat your own food, or how come you're not eating, or how come you don't? It's like, well, I mean, first of all, you're around it all day, right?
Right.
Like you're tasting, you're doing everything, you're making it from scratch, start to finish, and then at the end of it, it's like, because I'll just demolish it. I'll lose sleep over it if I eat. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I know that this tastes good. I know that tastes good. I know that tastes good. I know together it's going to be awesome. It's going to be beautiful. But I'll definitely. I would literally nitpick it until. Where did you
find the balance from that?
I mean,
because right now you're kind of doing a personal chef thing, right? For a
private chef
for a pretty wealthy crew of family, and you're working on some special stuff for their family. Right. Now, definitely not country club, definitely not the business.
No, so it's
a little different.
Something else. It kind of just came my way. I took a pretty hard look once I executive chef for it was about 6.5, almost 7 years. Mm-hmm. I got 2 little kids. They're 8 and 6. I missed a lot of them growing up. It was, it was rough. It was rough. A lot of just putting my career first and my job, and I'm executive chef. This is what I got to do.
This is what I got to do.
This is what I need to do.
This is how it happens.
And then after a while, it's just, the kids are crying on the Sunday morning as you're leaving to go to work because they want you to stay home, want you to hang out. And it's like,
what am I doing?
It's just heart-wrenching, So I tried to find that balance, I was trying to find that work-life balance. Like, okay, like this is enough, like, fuck, man.
It's so
working the 80 hours, 90 hours, or whatever it is. Lucky to have a day off, working open to close.
Always working a station,
Always, just grinding. So, it just got to the point where it was like, okay, career, executive chef.
For what?
Or family.
Our family.
So I basically got to the point where it was just like, I've had enough, like I got to the point where, I thought I basically succeeded at what I kind of wanted to do, for the most part. You got up to the top where, executive chef, country club, restaurant, gastropub, stuff like that. Created a bunch of cool dishes and a lot of good food and some good press here and there. Got to do the first annual, Newport Wine and Food Festival. I think that's where we met.
Yeah, 100%. That's so cool because I remember that because I think I hit you up on Instagram or you hit me up on Instagram or something.
Yeah,
I think it was
Twitter.
It was Twitter.
Was
it Twitter?
Yeah.
God, I'm still so bad at Twitter.
No, I think. My wife did that. To be honest,
it's like she's like, hey, you need to talk to this guy.
Yeah,
and I
check
think
him out.
You were so chill, with your spot there, and
that was the hardest thing. I think that was one of the hardest things I ever did.
Oh,
honestly,
the Newport.
Well, because I had never done anything like that before, and I was at a gastropub at the time, and
that was super hard for me because we brought a lot of people to do it,
right.
But the crazy part about it is they told us like 700 people.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think we did like 20 million. You know what I mean? It was like I'm out of forks. Like we didn't run out of food, but it was like.
Well, and everyone. I mean, it was the
like
hardest
it was.
thing.
But
was
wait
for
a
me,
second, if I remember right, it was like you and a person.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the hardest thing was like everyone had these huge, extravagant tables, right? And these huge setups, and oh my God, these tables look amazing, and there's escapes and all this stuff, and I had a table. Yeah. I walked in. I mean,
you did sliders though, if I remember right.
Sliders and the deviled eggs that I did.
I mean, how many deviled eggs was it? Like 1,000 that you like burned through?
I mean, around there.
Yeah, it was just
But I mean, I show up, and the gastropub that I worked at was just down the street. But I was struggling to prep for it a couple days before,
right?
Getting it all dialed in the morning of, and then just driving my own car and another dude's car to go over there and get there and to get set up. And I see all these crazy tables and I'm like, what is going on? And I have a table, and I didn't have anything else. I had my food.
Yeah.
And then the people were walking around like, hey, where's all your stuff?
I'm
like, dude, what are you talking?
yeah, because they were ruthless.
Oh, I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I have this dead black crow. You know what I mean? I worked at the Crow Bar, it's a gastropub. I mean, I don't have any flowers and all this stuff. I don't have people. Like, I have, me.
It's me. I'm doing everything.
And I had an assistant manager that was working on his day off to help out.
Yeah.
Because he thought it would be cool to do, you know what I mean?
And then you guys just get pummeled.
And that was it. I mean, literally, that was it. And I was like, oh man, I felt so like overwhelmed because I didn't have what everyone else had. Like, you had a crew.
Yeah.
I mean, you had like
because
15 people, you know what I mean?
Because I had gotten my
But I mean, you had people, you know what I mean? I was just
I
like
went
a small
through what you
independent
did.
gastropub, you know what I mean?
I went through the same thing.
So it was
like
rough.
years before.
It was fun. I had a great time. I loved it. I mean,
that was a rough event though. Oh. That first year we did that was like like we put everybody put their heads down for like a good, I don't know, 3.5, 4 hours. And it was like, oh yeah, you're fixing to get your face ripped off completely for the next 4 hours without even missing a beat. And and like product, you better
see you later.
Yeah, you better call somebody.
And I was glad that they had told us like the food was going to shut down at X hour, and it was like right about that time, and it was like, okay, we're getting low, man. Like we gotta stop. Like we gotta clean up. Like this is what the time they told them. But there were still hundreds of people walking around. I was like, what are we supposed to do? So we stayed as long as we could, but then I had to go back to the restaurant that night and cook. You know what I mean? It was like a Saturday, right? The first night or the first day or whatever it was. And I had to go back to the restaurant and work dinner.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
I didn't have crew.
We had something similar, but it wasn't
crazy.
quite as bad. It was not, I mean, we definitely struggled with it. Definitely. That event was hard.
It was. I mean, it was fun. It was great. I loved it.
Yeah, that was a hard event, Newport, for me. I mean, it wasn't as hard. It definitely wasn't hard for me as it was for you, for sure.
Right. I mean, I just had a skeleton crew, and like I said, like I had to go back Saturday night and work a busy Saturday night dinner.
Yeah, like you worked all day. You worked all day Friday, and then you...
And even, all the way up through that, prepping, getting ready. I mean, I was scrambling Saturday morning to get dialed in and finish it all up and then pack my car up.
And then you show up and you have like a crow on the table with a piece of wood.
And that was basically it. Yeah.
And then you were doing sliders to order.
So we did...
And then you had deviled egg.
And then, we did the crow deviled egg, which was the hot sauce that we made in-house. A blue cheese aioli yolk with crispy chicken skin on top with a little pickled celery leaf.
Jesus Christ.
So it was our play on chicken wings.
1,000 people.
Yeah, which they said maybe 500.
Yeah, you're like
something like that.
Yeah, it was the people were just housing food. And that's the year I did.
And that was the first one.
Yeah. Oh, it
it
was crazy.
It was.
And I did
intense.
fasole, where I made a pho with like a fasole blend, and it was just so freaking good. But I brought.
We were next to each other, right?
Yep.
That's right.
I did 2 days.
Yeah,
I
only did Saturday. That's the only thing I couldn't afford. I mean, I really couldn't.
Well, I don't know how, like some of those charity events, it's really tough on small restaurants to get their name out there.
Yeah.
If you can't afford to drop $6,000, like Ducks and Tucks, you did Ducks and Tucks that year.
Yep.
Which was a huge.
That was amazing.
That's so much fun.
That was so much fun.
That's still some of the.
I had a blast.
That's like some of the best. That's some of the best dinners I've ever made.
That was so
Ducks
cool.
and Tucks.
That was so cool. But even then, I still felt a little out of place. Because you can only do so much when it's a...
Yeah, I mean, that's what we talked about. I mean, but that was you were like, man, if it's just me and I had 2 guys and we're going to try to knock this out. And like, I mean, you did it and you killed it, but at the same time,
and it had a great time.
But like, that's, you're like,
but,
you've got guys that have like, you know, people swinging from the tables and like there's just chandeliers hanging over it. And then you're just like, and of course, you know, I feel the same way in a different way. And sometimes you know, it's something I talk to Gina about. And I think every chef in his own right, you know, they're always, I think we're so hypercritical. And it's funny because I do the lineup with them every year, right? And we're all lined up and we're all looking at each other. And I'm saying, hey to everybody, thanks for doing it. Because I really feel like the chefs are, I feel really grateful that they're willing to do this event, right? Because I know it's cool, but I feel like they're doing it with my organization. You know, it's the proudest thing to be the chef at the Honda Center for me, right? So I'm like, hey, chef, thanks for doing this. You know, I know how much, you know, we really appreciate it. It's a great cause. But I always and have always felt a little on the outside because for the past, I mean, I'm talking since 2003, 2004, I've been the guy really running a big event. You know what I mean? Like I was the guy at an arena, right? So I'm not making everyone. As soon as you say arena, as soon as you say Churchill, it's like, oh, so you make a lot of hot dogs and chicken tenders,
right?
Or, you know, like if
pimento and cheese,
or if you're the chef of a big hotel, you know, you're the chef of the downtown Intercontinental. There's a guy that runs the restaurant that's really good, but you do the banquet stuff, right? You know, so like, if you're not in the niche, and I think it's I think as chefs we all struggle with a little bit of we can be extremely self-confident, but from a bravado standpoint, sure. But I think there's always that doubt inside.
Oh, definitely.
Right? You're like, I wonder, what? Thanks for doing this, you know. And so like I go. Like when I do those events, I'm like, all right, we're going to blow this out of the, like we're going to blow this out of the water because we got to show everybody that this is what's up. This is thanks for doing the event, but you're in my house, so so like I can totally.
But even
see
like
it.
and I was next. I think the table next to me was 20. It was actually 24 carats catering.
Okay.
Where Sarah, my wife, works. She does,
and they do a phenomenal job.
Oh my God! I mean, they were whipping out, nitrous and NO2, all this stuff, doing all this crazy. I'm like looking over, like,
oh yeah, we're just
what are they doing over there? And I'm like, okay, I'm making a cool, cauliflower rice risotto with pine nuts and shit. Like, this is cool over here.
This is good too.
This is going to be tasty as fuck. But I don't have the show.
I don't have the show for sure.
I didn't have the show. I forget.
That first year we set stuff on fire. We lit rosemary on fire, and we were dropping ash on the plates that first year. It was like
that's cool. I mean, that's fun.
The first year, the first year we did it.
It's so big now.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, there's so many restaurants and so many chefs come out now.
It's pretty cool to watch.
It grows every year.
Last year they had a table that did Game of Thrones, and they had characters like dressed the Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And then there's two chefs that work at the Honda Center, Chad and Richard. And I was like, hey, you know what we should do is we should have our own restaurant each. So we did 3 courses, and they sat at prep tables, and we spun the center of what they looked at and to a new environment. So Richard had like a Pan Asian and Northern Italy for Chad, and then I did like this, like it was your food, like
right.
So I did this like American hunter, like I had venison and a pomegranate demi or something, and it was all like it's just like you had 3 courses.
Yeah.
So they had 8, like 3, 6, 9.
It was an experience,
and then they got dessert. Ugh. And it was like and then like you had all the food, and then you watched the rotation of all the restaurants spun in front of you, and I'm like, yeah, that's
amazing.
And it's like we just went, and like I'm thinking to myself,
how am I top this?
Yeah, like what am I doing next year?
Exactly.
We're gonna grow the food for you, and then we're gonna send it to you. Now that you're doing the private chef stuff, and you found a little bit more balance for your family.
Yes.
Besides being the family guy and the chef, what other kind of do you have any other hobbies?
It's rough. Not really, honestly.
Do you watch TV?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, mostly kid shows.
Yeah. Just staying up with Paw Patrol.
Yeah, Paw Patrol.
Okay.
I mean, luckily they've outgrown that
Okay.
for the most part, and it's cool. Now they're going on to some live
Yeah, there's
kids
real
shows.
people.
Real people. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of that. I mean, I grew up, playing baseball, then basketball, then golf. I played golf in high school, basketball in high school. But I mean, I love playing golf, but it just, at this point in time, it's just, there's no time for it.
Yeah, the golf. I used to like
isn't.
and enjoy
There really
golf, but
isn't.
it's like 6 hours.
It is. Yeah, it is.
So, like,
it takes time. Yeah.
as the private chef when you come in, what's the best part of that for you? What's the most rewarding part of being a private chef? So if, like, for people out there listening and they're like, oh, I've never thought about, I thought about being a private chef. What do you enjoy most about it?
I mean, it really is. I mean, like that personal touch. I mean, that interaction
Right.
with the family. There's 5 kids, and most of the interaction is with the kids. The parents are busy. They're business people, and they have their own assistants, and their assistants have assistants, and there's a house manager, and there's all this other stuff. So I really don't deal with them too much besides cooking their meals every now and then around their schedule. But the kids, it's pretty consistent. It's breakfast.
Right.
For a couple of them, it's the.
Where you're not breaking out the Lucky Charms. Like
sometimes.
do you have fun cereal days
Sometimes,
where you let them mix all the
depends.
cereals or
it
something?
Depends. I mean, I could be ready to make them whatever whatever
You're
they
like
want,
over there
or
at Eggs Benny
I'm
Station.
gonna do I'm
they're
gonna
like,
do Eggs Benny. I'm gonna do this.
cornflakes.
I got this cool stuff, and then the kid will walk in and walk right by me, not say a word. Go right into the dry storage, pick up a box of cereal and pour it in front of me, and then leave the box right in front of me
Did you say
and walk off and be like, "Hey, dude, I got some hot food for you here.
If you want that.
If you want that,
Nah.
meh." And then see you later.
What I love,
So,
my favorite part about that story is you said dry storage, and it really is probably like a pantry or a closet, and like,
well, yeah, that's exactly what it is.
That's you're in the house, and I'm sure you say
It's
it's a house.
It's a house,
and you're like,
yeah.
do you tell your kids to go get something out of dry storage, or do you tell them to go to the cooler?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it's
they
like
look at me
it's
cross-eyed,
ingrained,
like,
yeah.
"What are you talking about?" But private chef, I mean, it's there's challenges in every sense, everywhere. Any
Right.
kind of house, restaurant house, banquet house.
They all
Hotel.
have they all have their bad part. What's the worst part? Is it just that I have a friend besides you. I have 2 friends that are personal chefs, and and hopefully one day we'll have him on just to get his side of it, because he does a lot of high-end parties for his group, for his guy, and it can be very daunting because you become a part of the family, but you're not a part of the family. Like he's been with him for almost 13, 14 years with this individual.
That's a whole nother
So like
dynamic.
he's on this other thing. But what's the worst? What's the part that drives you a little nutty?
For the most part, they don't know my name.
Yeah, that would be tough, right?
I mean, sometimes it's, "Hey, cook."
The kids.
Oh, yeah, and even sometimes the parents or the
parents.
bosses.
Okay.
So I mean, they'll call me 3 different names, or they'll call me, hey cook, or hey
Because are you the only cook there? Or are you one
There's
of
2.
many? There's 2.
There's 2.
You're
Yeah, I
next
mean,
level. This is
it's-
next level
it-
stuff you're dealing with.
It's
This-
not, but it's
this
not
is
that-
not the norm of
It
like
is
the
not
American norm family.
No, it's not the norm. It's way above
Yeah, it's
anything that I've ever
Ever
experienced
seen.
and seen in my life.
Now,
so I mean, it's rough because it's like, man, like, come on.
yeah, come on.
I'm here every day. I'm getting here.
Do you work every day? Do you have weekends off, or what's?
Well, it depends. It depends. And that's another hard thing about it, is just kind of the schedule. It always, revolves around them and their schedule. And, yeah, I mean, I could know that there's going to be a dinner party, next Thursday.
Right.
And it's going to be for 6 people, and there's no allergies. Awesome. I'm going to do a 4-course dinner. Fantastic. Get ready, get prepped. You know, always prep for a couple more people. You never know, but it's going to be at 5 o'clock.
Right.
6 o'clock. Okay, cool. And then, but they're going to get there at 4, and they're all going to want drinks first. Well, there's no bartender there. So
that's you.
That's me. And then they're going to want some appetizers or something to snack on. So I got to deal with that. And then they're going to go out in their boat and take a little boat ride before they come back and start their dinner. So they want snacks and drinks on the boat.
This was not what they told you originally.
So I need to make sure.
Punt that real quick.
So I need to make sure I prep the boat and get that all dialed in.
Oh, wow.
And then it can go from 6 people to 12 people. Mm-hmm. And then they could go on the boat ride for 2 hours or 2.5 hours. And next thing you know, I'm standing around waiting to start my 4-course dinner that was supposed to start at 5 or 6. Mm-hmm. And now it's 8 or 9.
Okay.
And I haven't even started dinner yet. So it gets...
There's a hard way to plan around that. There's no way.
So you have to be ready for anything. I mean, just like, you know, at a restaurant or anyway, you have to be ready for anything.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, like you're going to have reservations, you're going to have a banquet, you're going to have something that you're going to
But there's
eat.
No regard for me as the chef and or the crew or the staff. They're doing their thing. They could care less.
Well, that's
a little rough.
Yeah, I guess from that perspective,
that's a little rough.
I wonder if I had that much money, if I would be that disregarding. That's a lot of money, though.
It's intense.
I mean, to take the boat out for 12 people, and it's not a pontoon boat, and you're all not rubbing elbows. Yeah.
Well, they could choose between the 3 boats that they have.
Yeah,
the small, the medium, or the large. So
we're definitely talking about something that I'll never relate to. I mean, our beer of choice for tonight's first inaugural Leave It on the Line is actually a Miller High Life. So maybe ECO is going to totally just extremely blow up, and I'm going to get 3 boats. But until that day, I think I would probably be happy on a pontoon boat with a Weber grill on the back of it.
That's fine with me. that's fine with me.
You know, just some hot dogs.
That'd be
now,
fun.
as far as, you know, this next part of the conversation, I want to kind of sort of steer towards the advice for the next generation, because a lot of what I'm trying to do inside this is kind of pass on some advice, you know, with with our other episodes of stuff on Shift Drink, just trying to kind of share some of that knowledge and, you know, leave it on the line. I want it to be something where you get to leave some stuff behind and you get to tell them. So and these questions are something that I've thought about, I've been asked before, but like, now, back in the day, we talked about Food Channel, like food TV. Like,
yeah.
Do you still watch? Or was it we have Cook TV, or we have Food Channel, and we have
there's food and there's Cook. There's food and then there's Cook. Really, I at this point I really don't watch a lot of Food Network.
Yeah, Food Network. Yeah. Do you watch Top Chef?
I love Top Chef.
Okay.
That's really that's really the only kind of cooking show or that I really get into.
Okay.
That I really like.
Cool.
I mean, I think it's the most authentic. I think it's pretty cool, to be honest. It's amazing.
See, that's awesome. I think I need to watch it. I don't.
You've never watched it?
Okay, so I had a friend that was on like season 2 for a little bit, and I watched it when he was on it, and then when he was no longer on it, I just stopped watching. It could be like a jealousy thing, you know. It could be like
yeah.
I'm like God, I just love it. That would be so much fun, you know. Like I went back and, you know, filled out things for a buddy of mine, Jose Verneman, and we actually did a freaking video for. What was that TV show? Amazing Race.
Okay.
So that show was like, you know, you're going to travel across, you know, and do all these wonderful, fun things. So I thought how much I think, but when it comes to the Bravo thing, I think I haven't watched it enough. Now, you know, I've been able to work with some of them, and they've been really nice to me.
Yeah.
And kind of really just super, like, I'm kind of in awe of how popular. Like, and I'm like, man, that's really cool. Like, you know,
it's another level.
Level.
At this point, it's like, it's like Dancing with the Stars.
Oh, 100%. Like Sarah, you know, Sarah that went against Ed Lee. and like a couple of years ago. See, Ed Lee was from Louisville, and he had 610 Magnolia, and I was still in Churchill back then.
Okay.
And then Sarah worked for Levy Restaurant. She worked for Spiaggia, and she was a chef there for Tony Montuano, and now she has her own place, and she got voted best restaurant. And she is an amazingly talented chef. In fact, my last Derby on Oaks Day I spent with Sarah. Like some of the last races I watched on the backside with Sarah, which were like, I knew that I think I felt like I was almost like it was something was going to change, you know?
Right.
And it was time, and I got to sit that and share that with her. And I don't know if she understood what I was going through, because I was probably a complete jackass during the Derby. Like the Derby is a ridiculously hard event, and you know I probably was a dickhead. But like for me, there's always some special weird bond that I have with her, because we watched some stuff. Like we watched races that morning when we did Fox and News together. Like that for me was pretty special.
Right.
And it might not be for her, you know, because
Sure.
it was a totally different context.
Sure.
'Cause she's doing it and she's Top Chef and stuff, but she's going on and she's killing it, right? She's next level.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
And even like you don't even have to win it.
Right.
You get in the finals,
You
or
just-
the top 5 or 3 or 4 or whatever. The
And if
case may
people
be.
like you, you can do some stuff with
And
it.
you
And
get
I
fan
think,
favorite, yeah. And,
I mean, you're off into the next.
it's
you're
like
breaking
Dancing with the Stars. I mean, it's not really stars anymore, or so semi-stars or whatever. But like you get that, like all of a sudden you're all over the place. You know, like Top Chef, you win it, or even close to winning it. I mean, you know, all of a sudden you're doing TV hits, news hits.
Yeah.
You're opening up your own restaurant, and you're just getting so much press. Like you're just like all over the place. Like it's a game changer. You know,
Totally.
It's
and,
a
you know, I
game
think
changer.
So like you watch Top Chef, like, and you know, I think hopefully I'll have Carlos on the show, and we'll get to ask him about what it was like, because he was in the second season.
Oh, okay.
And it was a good. We had a lot of fun.
I've watched it since it started.
So like he like
and-
totally phoned in a salad, and I will let him tell his side of
okay.
Top Chef, but
Yeah.
it's really good.
I would love that. Would be awesome to hear.
Yeah,
Seriously.
it's. I mean, like
from a legit like straight up. Let me behind the camera kind of thing. But let me hear that.
Let's see what is. I mean, I think his
sure.
contract might be up. I have no idea.
Yeah, well, you might not be able to talk about it.
Now, 18 years have passed. You've done just about everything, right? So a lot. You've
Sure.
done a lot.
Yeah.
What would you do it again? Would you go back if
Oh,
is this what you're supposed to do?
No question. No question. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing else I would rather do. I mean, I'm at home and I'm in the kitchen.
Right.
You know, my own, wife and kids have to basically get me out of the kitchen to come sit down and hang out. You know, even though it's there and it's in front of them, I'm home and I'm with them.
Yeah, but you're still getting.
But I'm in the kitchen.
You still got to get your groove on.
I'm in
you
the
know
kitchen.
What I mean?
Like, I'm asking my kids what they want for dinner in the morning before they leave to school, and they're like, we haven't had breakfast yet. Like,
And you're like, yeah, but I want to make something.
I'm like,
good.
well,
I want to plan out the
I'm going to be
lunch.
home, so I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to buy stuff. I'm going to prep.
Yeah,
And
I'm not. I want to. I want to
know?
go ahead. And, yeah, like that's.
So,
Is it still one of your? It's like one of your favorite. I think for me, one of my favorite things to do is to be able to go to the store, buy whatever I want, cook whatever comes to the inspiration, and relax. And typically, where I find myself the happiest is when I'm with my family, cooking in the kitchen with either a beer,
Yep.
a glass of wine, and really no dinner time that needs to happen.
Sure.
And like for the longest time, like when we would have family get together, not family, but just, well, they were family. Like friends would come over, especially when we first moved out here. We'd have a dinner party, and the plan was for us to eat at, and I guess it goes back for years. The plan would always be to eat at 6, and I would extend the menu, and I'd have like
Absolutely.
so many different dishes. And like you'd show up and the charcuterie board would be ready, the hummus would be out, the olives and everything would be laid out, and then we'd have a bottle of wine, or there'd be beers and there'd be drinks, and then I would put out the next thing and the next thing, and then
Yep.
dinner would show up at 9.
Sure.
Like I felt like I mean, the people are like, "Are you Spanish?" I mean, like
What's
it's like
happening?
11.
Yeah.
Are we supposed
Keep
to take a nap?
Keep eating. Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're
it's-
not hungry. What do you mean you're not hungry? Come on.
Yeah, come on. Now let's sit down and
no,
eat.
yeah,
and then
come
there's
on.
tons of food left over.
Oh, you got to try this or you got to try that.
Most of the time, I was probably pretty sloppy, hammered.
At that
and,
point,
you know,
yeah.
because I've been drinking and cooking it. It's just
Yeah.
like so
It's just-
relaxing and amazing.
It's a good time.
I think that's
It's
one
a
of my
good
favorite
time.
things.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I can't see myself doing anything else. I mean, there's no way that I would be sitting behind a desk and on a computer or something like that, or answering phones, or,
Well,
or
now
selling.
you're starting to describe what I do now. So
Well, no, but not.
I think that's.
I mean, it's part of it. That's
Well,
part
I mean,
of being
there's
a
a-
chef, but obviously, I mean, that's a huge part of it.
Yeah, no,
and once you
that's-
get to that point, and then you miss the cooking,
Oh, totally.
right?
Totally.
You miss the cooking.
You miss the days of the guy yelling at you to make the product.
Yeah,
and
or
I think
working on the line.
and I try to stress that with everybody that gets into our business is that the
Well, and that, I mean,
the more
you-
successful
yeah.
or the more money in a realistic way. Like we all can't be on Top Chef, as jealous as I am.
Sure.
But let's say that you're the person that wants to make more money. The way you make more money is you get in control of more revenue. And then the more revenue that you're in charge of, the further away you can actually
and
you're
that's-
not like if you're running 600,000 through your restaurant, there's only a certain amount of money that you're going to get paid as the chef of that 600,000.
Right.
So then you're like, daddy needs a new set of tires, or
Right.
the kids need this, Christmas needs to look like this, and you're like, I need the next step. Next thing you know, you're running a 14 million or 20 million or 25 million or
And-
40 or 60, and you're like regional, and you're flying, like all this stuff.
Yeah, but then you're
compiles.
tucked away in an office all day.
Yeah, and then it's like
You
wait a
don't even
minute.
see the line anymore.
No, like what is the line?
Exactly.
Like you've left the line
Right.
for like 100%.
So I mean, that's you asked me like kind of like just to kind of bring it around, like what I would kind of say to people coming up
Mhm.
or wanting to get into the industry or become a chef, right? Because it's so cool and it's Top Chef and it's
right.
celebrity chef and all that stuff. That's few and far between, obviously, and it takes a long time to get there. But if you love to cook, like literally, like love to cook, stay cooking.
Yeah.
As long as you can afford it, which is rough, right? Which is
Oh,
tough,
my
especially
God.
here in Southern California. I mean, come on, I get it.
Yeah.
Believe me, that's what happened to me. I've been there, done that. Like, you got to make more money. You got to make more money. You got to make more money. I mean, you can barely afford to live out here by yourself. Like, without a family. If you're young, you're single, you don't have a family, cook. And
Cook,
if
and
you
cook
can
as
afford it,
long as you can
and cook for as long as you possibly can, and afford it, and love it, and enjoy it. Because as soon as you start moving up the ranks, it goes away. I mean, you become Sue. Okay, you're still kind of cooking. You're like overseeing some people. You're in charge. But then you move up to what, exec Sue,
Yeah.
if that's and then you step away again. So then now you're in charge of the ordering and even more paperwork and more stuff, and you just move farther away from the line and from actually cooking. And then you get to the exec chef. You have the ideas, you have the brains, you have the creativity and the stuff that you write down and you see in your dreams and you see in your mind, and like, the creativity, this is going to be amazing. Okay, you get in a line and you show your cooks how to do it, or this is how I want to do it, or this is how it's supposed to taste. Okay, done. See you later. I got to go do some press, or I got to go do...
I've got a meeting. That's like I have meetings. I have a lot of meetings.
I got a meeting at this time. I got a meeting at this time. I got a meeting at this time. You walk through the kitchen and you say, what's up to your boys on the line? And they say, hey, what's going on, Jefe? What's going on? What's up, chef? You're like, hey, going to another meeting. See you later. See you in 2 hours. And they're like, oh, come on. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah. So, I mean, again,
What now?
if you love cooking, just stay.
Stay cooking.
As long as you possibly can. That's all I can say. I mean, really, that's...
I mean, like that's something that I stress a lot with the people that I'm with. I recently, was thinking, like, I did this OC Liver Foundation dinner like a couple of weeks ago. I think it was a month ago. And I prepped the whole thing to the majority of it. I had some staff help me out the morning of. They knocked out a bunch of food. But I like wrote this menu. And this is a side story, but I was like, okay, I'm going to do this menu. And I came home one night and I was really struggling with the menu. And I wanted to impress him because it was the first time that I was doing the OC Liver Foundation and they raise a bunch of money. And it's a great event. Jamie Gwynn's there, and Josh from Solani's, Josh Severson. He's a super nice chef, just great guy. And I met the exec chef that's running Roy's down the street from us. And there's just some great people there. And I was like, okay, so what are we gonna do? How? And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make the food that I grew up on in a different way. Yeah. And I wrote this family menu, and I served Miller High Life as our champagne, and people were loving it. And I did this deconstructed, like, fun gumbo, and Carlos from Lost Car, fantastic chef coach.
Oh, absolutely.
He came, and I was like, hey, man, you want to cook with me for the day? And he's like, absolutely. And so I found myself in the kitchen, like, super late because I had meetings all day, and I kept pushing it off. I kept pushing the prep off because something got in front of it. And it was like the night before the event, and I had to be at the event at like 2:00. And I was restraining the gumbo because, like, there's a longer story to it, but we don't have any like seeds or anything in the, there's my grandmother's recipe, like puree some stuff and
like super tomato water kind of thing.
Well, like since we're on a podcast and time is not really a big deal.
Yes, we can talk.
We can talk. What the story is that when they used to put, they would take the onions and the peppers and the carrots, and they'd make their trinity and whatever it was, and they would literally, my grandmother would strain it because my uncle told my other uncle that the okra seeds were crab eyes, so he wouldn't eat it. So, like, you take all of this product, you make this amazing, you do your roux and you add all your stuff, and then you puree it. Mm-hmm. And then you strain it. And, I bought live crab, and like I had like boiled them, and I did all this, and then I pureed the shell and put it. I was making like a basically redneck lobster bisque, right?
Yeah.
So I'm straining this, and I had to get I ran out of like the crab meat that got delivered. I needed some jumbo lump to make this West Indies salad, and then I had to get a rep to come in, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I'm still straining this stock, and I've made X, Y, and Z. And it's for one dish, and I'm like, my Gina's like, why in the hell are you not home yet? You have to be back there tomorrow. You have a game, and you're doing it. Or like we had something, right? Yeah, we had a game. It was a pretty big game.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm so sorry, but at the same time, I was super sorry. But like I was having like the time of my life at the same time because like it's been a minute.
You got to get in it.
It had been a minute since like I had gotten to throw down like that.
Right.
Like usually I say to my staff, if I'm cooking, something's gone horribly wrong.
Right.
Like there's like this is not why I'm paid to do what I do. But
that
was for me. It was a good moment, and it reminded me like this is why I do this.
Right.
This is why I came in here.
Right.
And I still have such a passion for our business. That's the tough part. Like the t-shirts, the hats, the sweatshirts, everything. Like it's what we are. So people recognize it. Whether it's I think there's a lot of people that put our culinary hit on clothing, and I think a couple of brands do a really good job. Yeah. But you really gotta love this business, for the good and the bad.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Or else
you're not going to make it.
I mean, you'll get burnt in no time.
And now, what's your favorite, and this is a fun question that I've thought about. What's your favorite tool in the kitchen?
Oh, man. Favorite tool. I could say, there's always, my tongs are always on me. They're either like in my hand or in my back pocket.
Right.
I know that's like, blah. not a cool story, but I think every line cook or
Yeah, the
chef
tongs are
always has
always
a
there.
tong.
Yeah, the
tongs
pocket
to
thing
tell.
drives me crazy though. It's like
It's so disgusting,
Yeah,
right?
I'm like, why are they in a fucking
Yeah,
pocket?
it's so gross.
But it's like some guys rock like that. I mean, I'm just here to preach. I'm not
Oh,
here
thanks.
to hate. But it's true though.
It's
There's
just like, hey,
it's
doctor's
here.
hands are always clean. The chef's hands are always clean, man. Hey, my
Your
tongs are going to
tongs
be
are
in my
always
back
clean.
pocket. They're always going to be
That's
clean.
a clean pocket. Listen, a chef's hands are never dirty.
That's right.
That's a true story.
That's right.
I actually have a quote
You
on
know
the
how,
wall
like,
somewhere from saying that.
Crusty my hands are from washing them so much and dried out because that's all you do is wash your hands.
Right.
I think
Gotta be. Like I'm between knife and tongs.
yeah, and that's such a. I mean, that's
It's a cop out, but I guess but we're a little old school. I mean, like you're not gonna. What is it gonna be? Your thermal circulator?
Yeah, it's not going to be an emergent circulator or Yeah, I don't. I mean, the Robocoo is always pretty cool.
Oh, I like the Robocoo. Yeah,
so you just
like,
bust out a.
for some reason I go to tong because there's the tongs are just. I don't put them in my pocket, but they are extension of your hands.
They're extension of your hands. I mean, literally, I could do anything with tongs that I can do it. Well, not literally.
Let's
take
back
that
it up.
back.
Family show.
Sorry. Yeah, family show. But yeah, seriously, I mean,
Dang,
that just sounds so.
Are you you're not happy with
I'm not
the
happy
cool-
with my answer.
the
That's
cool answer that you would
so
give?
horrible.
That's a tough one. Now, real quick.
That is a horrible answer.
Now, there's a question. If you got to sit down and have dinner with one chef, what chef would it be?
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, seriously, the first name that comes to my mind is Richard Blaze. And I don't know if that's because of the Top Chef, the love for Top Chef, but I've been a fan since I've seen him on Top Chef. And I have a couple of both of his books, and I met him at the Newport Wine and Food Festival. He came by and
you actually got a chance to talk to him.
Briefly. I didn't get a picture with him or anything.
You didn't?
Unfortunately.
So Richard Blaze, huh?
Yeah, Richard Blaze. I mean, I said it might be, the Top Chef, the whole Top Chef, and watching Top Chef from the beginning.
Was he the guy that really kind of killed it? Was he because he's really funny. His tweets are pretty hilarious,
dude,
right? He's a riot. Everybody thinks he's like the guy to hang out and party with.
I mean, I don't know about party, but
he's funny is why I guess.
He's a good, he's just an amazing chef, and he brought, kind of molecular gastronomy to Top Chef.
I thought it was Marcel that brought it.
Oh, dude!
See, that was
bringing Marcel into this.
Well, that was season 2. That's what I watched. So, wasn't Marcel the guy that? God. See, that was the season that Carlos was on. So I'm sorry. I've totally upset you. You're you're totally this guy. I should have never done this podcast. I should have never done this interview. Okay, so I hit a nerve. Totally struck a nerve. So you want to have dinner with Richard Blaze?
I would.
Where would you guys eat?
His choice. I'd be down
with whatever.
Yeah,
I bet you he's
absolutely.
probably got some freaking.
Well, I had dinner at his restaurant, Juniper and Ivy, down in San Diego. Sarah set it up for one of my birthdays, and they did a private, a chef's menu.
Mm-hmm.
And we got to sit at the bar, right there, right in front of the kitchen. Unfortunately, he wasn't there that night for the dinner, but it was
spot on.
The best thing, the best dinner. It blew me away.
Sometimes I feel like there's a
really
good dinner at a restaurant where you're just like, God damn, you guys blew my socks off. It's like you sometimes I can get lost in that. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
It's like 100%. I don't even I like it when I'm like, oh, I go to some places and I would do that, I'd do this different or do that. I love it when I get there and it's like, now it's time for you to sit back, relax.
I was giddy.
Take your shoes off because you're
fixing
to go on a ride.
I was so I couldn't. I was like, oh my god! We went down to San Diego. We stayed the night in a hotel. We drove down.
That's
took a cab to the restaurant, and it was just like right there. They had, the menus. They had said "Happy Birthday, Chef Grant" on it, like from Juniper and Ivy. Like I was just like, this is gonna be so amazing.
Yeah,
and it just blew my mind. It blew my the food was amazing. Like it was amazing. It was fantastic.
So that's a big shout out to you, Chef Richard.
Yeah.
Please. Now, if any of the people in your career if we all have had teachers, different forms or fashion.
Mm-hmm.
If who was your biggest teacher, and if you could say thank you to them, who would it be, basically?
It would be, there was one chef instructor in culinary school. Towards the end, he was like the hotline teacher, or culinary instructor. It was getting close to the end of me going to culinary school, and it was, as much as I loved it, it was starting to get a little, it was a grind, kind of.
Right.
Just because I was working at night, getting a few hours sleep, waking up early, whatever. So what I would do is like I would get home from work at night and then shave and then go to sleep. So I didn't have to wake up, an extra 10 minutes early. So I didn't have to shave in the morning. I just shaved at night before I went to bed. Mm-hmm. But when I got to school, there was always just a little stubble, right? There was just a little something there, and he like drilled me on it. Always drilled me on, like, you're not clean shaven. I'm like, I'm clean shaven. Like, I just shaved like 5 hours ago or whatever the case may be. Like, he's like, well, what are you doing? Like, what's going on? It's like, well, I told him my routine. I come here, whatever. I drive home. I go to work. I work until 10 or something like that. Take a shower, shave, go to bed, and then I get out of bed. Boom, I hit the freeway so I can get here on time. He said, well, that's unacceptable. It's like, unacceptable? Like, what are you talking about? I'm here to learn and cook. Like, I love it. Like, what? Just because I'm not like super clean shaven. Like, you got to be kidding me. And I mean, the way he brought it and the way he talked to me about it and the way he came about it was, like, if this is something you want to take seriously, then this is something you take seriously. And you need to come clean shaven. You need to change your schedule, and you need to shave in the morning before you come in. It's like, what are you kidding me? Like, oh my God. And he was dead serious. So he kicked me out of class. It happened like, I think it was like three or 4 days in a row when we first started. And then like the fifth day, it was like Friday or something, right? He was like, oh, so you're not like, you don't want to take this seriously? I'm like, of course I want to take this seriously. Like, I've been doing this whole time. Like, I love it. Like, he's like, well, obviously not. You're not listening to me. Like, out of class. Boom. Sent me home. Like, you kidding me? So, I mean, ultimately, I took that pill. I took it, I swallowed it, and I changed my schedule. I woke up that 10 minutes, 15 minutes earlier. I shaved in the morning before I went to class. And it's just the way, and he told me, like, I see talent in you. Like he took it that, like, it wasn't just that hard ass straight up, but it was like, I see skills in you. I see that you have talent, and I see you like this.
Right.
But you're not going to go anywhere just on that. Like, you have to be like full into it, like 100%. And you're not being 100% right now. So it was huge. It was huge. So I finally.
Yeah, I mean I think that's important, right? Like, and it's as I'm all scruffy and
like
you're totally scruffy right now,
unshaven and like
well, I think we both are. Like, I have the benefit of, like, it takes me 7 years to grow any type of a beard.
Yeah, you are lucky.
And it paid off in culinary school. But what I think is funny is the fact that it's the minute detail that you have to be concerned with,
right?
And that's the point he's trying to make, right? He's like, you're like, but I shaved 4 hours ago. And he's like, 4 hours ago isn't good enough.
Right.
And you're like,
still see something.
Yeah. He's like, but I still see it.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm good at this.
I can cook.
Yeah, I can cook. And he's like,
check this out.
But
like, I'm in hot foods. Like,
I'm
kill
like,
this dish.
I'm gonna crush this.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're still not good enough because your details.
Right.
You're missing the detail, punk.
Right.
So I think that's a huge, and that's what we all get, right? I mean, I have a whole list of mentors, but like, probably one of the biggest, the later mentors, where it was that, like, oh, he was just a stickler about the shave. right? And I hated shaving. And he's like, if I have to shave, you have to shave.
Yeah.
And at the first time, I was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, don't you get it? It's the self-discipline.
Right.
He's like, it says so much about your character if from other people. And it's like, if you pick it up, and some guys are like, I like the unscruffy look. I'm going to be scruffy. It's my thing. And he's like, for him, it was a total, like, you get up in the morning and you shave.
Right.
Because you're going to be clean shaven. You're going to be hygienic, and you're going to go in and you're going to prepare food.
Right.
That is your career. That's your job.
Right.
And when I look at you, I don't want to see some guy that had like an old razor. I want it to be this way.
Yep.
And it took me for me, I can be flippant to things that I don't like buy into.
Right.
And I think I didn't understand it when he told me. I didn't understand. I probably started to understand it maybe 4 years ago. And I'm like,
yeah. Now that you're teaching people, oh yeah.
Because there's parts of me is like, oh, if you don't shave, what's the big deal? You're still crushing the dish. The guest doesn't see you. But it's like the whole...
you're back of the house. There's no window to the world.
I can fall into that same, like,
whatever.
you're the back of the house. It doesn't matter.
Whatever.
It doesn't... Like, they can't see you, so you can do what you want. But for the guys...
Because I got mad skills.
My skills are going to speak for me.
I'm going to destroy this, yeah.
And then, like, for the guys that really... I mean, those... Like, I guess I don't want to call them old school, but for the guys that were sticklers about certain things, it was really live or die. Like on those things.
Yeah, for sure.
It wasn't,
and that's what it was. I mean, that's what it was with the instructor. I mean, he told me, like,
if you don't shave,
I mean, I see that you have skills. I see that you can thrive and you will do well in this industry. Like, I can tell that. But
if you don't shave,
why aren't you taking this seriously? And I was like, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, there's so
I'm
many...
not taking this seriously. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning and I get here and I work at night. What are you talking about? And he was like, oh.
I mean,
I can see it, dude. I can see it.
I can see it. You're not doing it good enough.
You're not doing it. Yeah.
And it's the
and it
message.
had nothing to do with cooking. It had nothing to do with my skills.
Well, I mean, that is probably the best story I think I've ever heard so far. I know it's our first episode, but what a phenomenal way to say thank you, right? Like, so because it really doesn't boil down to your cooking or your skills in the long run, because he's telling you that right off the bat that somebody's going to tell you you're not good enough.
Right.
And they're going to tell you that, no, I know you want to put lobster bisque on the menu. I know you want to do you want to bring in no, you can't do that. That's not what I want. This is what I want. And you're like, but it's so cool. And they're like, we don't care about what you want. Right. And that's, I want you to shave. That's the rules, and do it.
Yeah.
And you're like,
wait a minute. I don't want you to shave 6 hours ago. I want you to shave an hour or 30 minutes before you come to class.
Yeah. And 6 hours ago is not good enough.
It's not
that
good
dish.
enough.
When did you put that in the saute pan? 6 hours ago?
Right.
Not good enough.
Right.
You're not sandbagging on my watch.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a fantastic story.
Huge.
And if you had anything to tell the young cadet, the young cook that has been in restaurants for a year, 6 months, maybe 2, thinking about going to culinary school, thinking about making this a lifelong thing, what would be your words of advice to them? That's
already cooking?
Yeah, and for a little bit, like 4 or 5 months, 6 months. Yeah.
Culinary school is not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you want almost a lifelong debt, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Honestly, I mean, it's great. You learn fundamentals, and it might be a good foot in the door.
Mm-hmm.
But I learned so much more working in restaurants than I ever did in culinary school. And I think in this day and age, not to sound old, which I am, I mean, if you're already in a restaurant and you're already cooking, and you don't have that culinary degree or whatever the case, you're going to learn more in the restaurant. You're going to learn more on the line. You're going to learn more from the guys that have been there for 15 years, for 20 years. Soak it up.
You got to soak it up.
Soak it up.
I mean, I would agree with that. Until you need it. That's my only thing. It's like a gun in a gunfight. You only need it when you need it.
If you
don't need it. Like if you want to be, I just did a shift drink on this. Like, what do I think about the culinary school thing? And like, part of me says you don't need it if you're going to run your own place. Go work for all the people that run restaurants exactly like you want and learn from them.
Yeah.
And don't incur the debt. You know, you'll learn a lot. If you're going to find yourself going up against 500 other chefs and the HR manager is looking at the resume,
unfortunately,
then you might need it. But how many people set out to be the chef of an arena, you know what I mean, or of a hotel? Like, it just depends on where you want to end up.
And it depends on how long. Like, I mean, you can get your stripes.
Oh, you definitely can get your stripes. You just got to
through it.
The right person has to know where your stripes came from, and I think sometimes
that's perfect. No, 100%. The right person. Yes.
So if your resume comes to my desk,
yeah,
and I see where you've been, I know that you've got the stripes. It's awesome.
Right.
But if some person's reading and filtering your resumes, and they have 1,000 of them, that's my only beef about. I'm still paying for my degree. I mean, it is a wild, I'm still paying for it. And then I think the toughest part about it is that it sticks with you for a while, you know? And then I think that it's tough. Right,
I've worked, being a chef and I'm sure you've seen it too, or, worked with a lot of people that have, had culinary degrees and the people that have not.
I've fired as many people that have culinary degrees that don't, and I've worked with some guys that like.
I've had guys that have worked for me that, did not go to culinary school and
were just beasts.
And were just beasts in the kitchen,
just murk shit right there. And, like the guy that
game over.
Done. Like,
this is what I need you to do. This is what I need you to prep. And oh, by the way, this is a whole nother thing that I have coming up and we have coming up.
No issue.
And it's going to be a busy Friday night dinner.
Done.
See you later.
Yeah.
Done. I mail it in. No question, no problems. Mm-hmm. And it's on point. No problem.
I think there's the guys that crush it like that are just
that have just been through it and been there, done that. It's like, okay, no problem.
I find that the industry is so freaking vast that you have to separate yourself. And if you can work in that, like if you're going to go and work, like, and save up the money and you're going to stage at the French Laundry and then you're going to go to freaking some other spot. And then, cause there's That's always, huge. I worked with some guys that were like, oh, I just saved up and I was in France for the last 3 months and I worked here, here, and here. And I'm just like, what?
Why didn't you stay there?
Yeah. Like they're like, oh,
why did you come back?
Yeah, I'm going to go here next. I'm going to go here next. And like there was always that. I think that there's so many roads for the chef or for the cook. Like you don't have to. I just know that for me it was it really
it was a necessity.
Well, it was a necessity because my family said you're going to get a degree, a college degree, because you might not do this forever. Sure. And that kind of leads to my last question of the show for this episode is, that was the family's like, you don't know what you're going to do. You might not be able to do this for 6 years, 5 years. You can't. You haven't done anything for a long time, Jojo. Can you please? What else are you? Oh, you're going to teach yourself the trumpet. Oh, you're a scuba diver. Oh, you're free diving now. Oh, you're playing paintball professionally. What's your next hobby? Is this a hobby?
Right.
And they're like, you're getting a college degree because in 8 years you're going to need a degree when you're trying to compete against somebody. That was, in the 90s or 2000. I mean, I graduated high school in 92. So so they're like, I went to school for a long time. But if you had to step away from the kitchen and it was time for you to say, I'm done, what would you foresee yourself doing besides what you're doing now?
I've never thought about it.
Right.
It has never crossed my mind.
I think that's a pretty solid answer.
I mean, since I started culinary school and started working as a cook, as a culinarian or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about anything else.
Okay.
Like I said, I fell into bartending a little bit here and there, but whatever. I came back to cooking because I missed it. Like I needed it. You know, you're glutton for punishment because I wanted to get back on the line and get yelled at and screamed at and burned and, You know,
But,
just I needed that rush or whatever you want to call it. You know, I can't. I haven't thought about it. I don't know.
Well, that's probably the best answer I think you could give because it was honest.
Yeah,
And that's, I think, a perfect way for us to wrap up the first episode of
yes, sir.
Leave It on the Line. I don't think we've left anything behind for this first run at it.
No, I don't think so.
No,
I think it went well.
It did. I totally appreciate you coming out. We'll have to have you come out
For
one
sure.
more time, or maybe more. You know, this is just the first of many.
I'm here.
So as always, is there any way that we can follow you on your social media or anything like that? Keep up with your craziness, or you're cooking for people that go on the big boat, the medium boat, or the large boat?
Yeah, I mean, some of that
like
stuff is a little on the down low, but I think Instagram is chef_Grant.
Perfect. So low key, so chill for such a fantastic guy.
Thank you,
Chef Grant. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And,
Appreciate it.
Enjoying a little Miller High Life on this wonderful
Better
evening.
believe it. Yeah, chef.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers.
Tap the table.